All right, no doubt a lot of folks are not going to like what I have to say on this particular topic. This is somewhat of a distressing subject. Generally, we're either talking about rideshare, gig economy content, or politics. This video combines them both in a fatal outcome for a Black Lives Matter protester that surrounded a vehicle operated by an Uber driver. So you got an Uber driver murdering or taking the life of a Black Lives Matter protester. Like I stated, some of my opinions on this matter, some folks may not favor. Nevertheless, here is the news story concerning this topic.
From relief to pain, a Texas mother is telling us she is sick to her stomach as Governor Greg Abbott says he's working now to pardon the man convicted of murdering her son. Daniel Perry was found guilty last week of killing Garrett Foster, who was involved in a Black Lives Matter protest in Austin 3 years ago. Our JD Miles sitting down with Foster's mother tonight, and she's opening up about the pain this is causing her.
But I do understand that you all have reached a verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant Daniel Perry guilty of the offense of murder as alleged in count 1 of the indictment.
When a Travis County jury found Daniel Perry guilty of murder for the death of 28-year-old Garrett Foster in downtown Austin, Sheila Foster says the relief she felt after her nearly 3-year search for justice.
I got 18 hours of peace to finally breathe.
Didn't last long.
And when this happened on Saturday, it literally buckled me over. I haven't left my house. I didn't do anything on Easter. I'm shaking like a leaf right now. I'm sick to my stomach. I can't eat anything. And it's almost like all of that weight was lifted in that verdict. And now it feels like the biggest hammer in the world has come down crashing on me.
That hammer, according to the murder victim's mother, came in the form of a tweet by Governor Abbott the day after the verdict, which said, "I am working as swiftly as Texas law allows regarding the pardon of Sergeant Perry." The tweet goes on to suggest that the actions of Perry, a Fort Hood Army sergeant, should have been justified as self-defense. Attorney General Ken Paxton posted later that he agreed with the governor. That's despite a jury's unanimous decision that Perry was guilty of murder after hearing from 40 witnesses and deliberating for 15 hours.
I would honestly just ask that anyone, including the governor, if you're trying to take a side in this deal, at least look at the evidence first.
That evidence presented during the 2-week trial showed that both men were legally armed when Perry, who was working as an Uber driver, turned onto a downtown Austin street blocked by a crowd of 20 Black Lives Matter protesters in July 2020. Foster, who had been protesting alongside his girlfriend for 50 straight days, approached Perry's vehicle armed with a rifle. Perry opened fire, claiming Foster raised his weapon, which witnesses denied. Prosecutors presented some of Perry's messages and social media comments in the weeks before, which said, "I might have to kill a few people on my way to work. They are rioting outside my apartment complex. And I might go to Dallas to shoot looters." The victim's mother and her civil attorney find it inappropriate, to say the least, that the two most powerful men in the state would interfere in a murder trial that's still not over. How worried are you about this influencing the jury during the sentencing phase?
Well, the governor is the most powerful elected official in the state of Texas. Nobody, including the governor of the state of Texas, should shut down the process of the rule of law, and it appears that's what the attempt is here.
But to see the governor and the attorney general take sides on a murder trial, how does that sit with you?
I can't believe it's happening. I feel like Garrett was marching for equality and for our constitutional rights, our First Amendment rights, and our Second Amendment rights. And it just feels like it's weird because he died fighting for those things.
Sheila Foster will be in the courtroom when the trial resumes tomorrow. Perry faces a sentence of up to life in prison. JD Miles, CBS News, Texas.
Now, the shooter, Daniel Perry, and the deceased, Garrett Foster, they're both military personnel. So shout out to this particular news story for pointing that out, because when this first happened, they were only stating that the shooter was an Army sergeant. First of all, it doesn't matter at one damn bit that these individuals served in the military. This ain't got shit to do with the military. But we understand that folks will often use a veteran status or the fact that someone served our country as an attempt to gain sympathy for the individual. But in this case, both members of the story were military. But they did, for a moment, not tell you that the victim was an Air Force airman. They were not even telling you that. They were only telling you that the shooter was an Army sergeant. But like I said, none of that matters. Also, both parties were white. So there's, even though this is involves a Black Lives Matter protest, just getting some of the facts out, both sides are white. Does that matter one bit? Somewhat. I will say this. Fact is, if you're out joining some type of protest on behalf of civil rights, whether it's taking down statues, a wrongful police killing, or in this case, I believe they were out protesting for George Floyd or something like that. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. If you're on the side of that protest, you can get it. You can actually get it. We talked about before Charlottesville, remember the good people on both sides? The victim that was ran over out there at that protest in regards to the statue coming down or staying up, it's a white girl. Also, we talk about Kenosha, Wisconsin, Cal Rittenhouse having to take the life of two folks in self-defense. They were white. They were white. There was no African-American in regards to the Cal Rittenhouse shooting either. But it was a Black Lives Matter protest. Fact is, if you are supporting Black Lives Matter or another civil rights cause, you can get it. There is a very favorable attitude if you take out a member of Black Lives Matter, regardless of their color. There's going to be a lot of folks that are going to be in support of you doing it. Now, that's not to say what Cal Rittenhouse did was not self-defense. They were trying to impose bodily harm on the guy. Same thing in this case. Some would suggest, because the protester, in this case, the late Garrett Foster, walked up to the shooter's car with an AK-47 strapped around him. However, there is an issue here. First of all, unfortunately, for this guy, and maybe some, it is legal to walk down the street with an AK-47 strapped on you. I'm no fan of that. But what the airman was doing apparently is 100% legal in Texas. Why the governor, Greg Abbott, stepped in and pardoned him is baffling to me, because he's saying it was a stand your ground defense. Here's what came out in court, because Greg Abbott is stating, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas is stating that this guy, the late Garrett Foster, pointed the AK-47 at the driver, the Uber driver, Daniel Perry. Well, in reality, it came out in court. Daniel Perry testified that he thought Garrett Foster was going to aim the AK-47 at him, so he shot him proactively to prevent him from having time to do it. So it's clear, based on the testimony of the shooter, there was never a gun aimed at him. This is an unfortunate reality when you allow open carry and things like that. A lot of folks support open carry. We're not going to have a gun debate here, but walking around with a firearm in plain sight puts people at odds. Now, in this case, there's a lot of other shit to add, which is what's going to make me question, why would Governor Greg Abbott get involved in this and pardon him? First of all, the shooter, what also came out in court is that the shooter actually told his friend, here's a quote, "I might go to Dallas and shoot looters." Now, you know, Black Lives Matter, sometimes at the height of some of their protests, fires, riots, and looting does take place. It's happened in multiple cities, Minneapolis, Portland, I believe Chicago, a host of cities it's happened in. So he was actually thinking or contemplating on driving to Dallas. He does not live in Dallas, going to another city to shoot looters. That came out in court, that he told his own friend that. So he wanted to take out Black Lives Matter, folks. I mean, that's part of it. But here's something that is even more troubling. He also was quoted as saying, too bad you can't get paid for hunting Muslims. So this guy, regardless if you believe what he did in regards to the guy approaching him with an AK-47 and him shooting him, saying that he was standing his ground, even if you believe that he had 100% justifiable reason to take this guy's life, it's pretty clear his heart is filled with hate. It is pretty clear that this guy operates from a position of hate. Too bad you can't get paid for hunting Muslims. Can you explain any other reason why someone would want to hunt people simply because of their religion? If that is not hatred, I cannot explain to you what is. Now, also, like I stated before, if you take out anybody that's protesting on behalf of civil rights, because a lot of folks believe that Black Lives Matter is fascism, or they're promoting communism or Marxism, you name the wrong ism, and they're going to say that this group is doing that. And there are members of the leadership that were talking about Marxism. But if you go to the typical Black Lives Matter gathering, I've been to a couple before, myself personally, nobody's talking about Marxism or communism or it's not even coming up. In fact, one of the ones I went to, the chief of police was there, stating that he is going to tell his officers that chokeholds are no longer allowed. Nothing to do with some type of way to run government. They didn't talk about capitalism and any of that shit. Did not come up. No one collected money or any of that. It was simply on the merits of the police trying to relate better to the community. So it is what it is, but there's a lot of folks, anytime you start talking about protesting civil rights, you're going to incur hatred. Another thing, bringing a firearm to a protest is a bad idea. And this would apply to the deceased in this case. Even though it's 100% legal, apparently, just like Kyle Rittenhouse, it's 100% legal to bring an AR-15 in the middle of a protest. And at the end of the day, there was riot and looting going on where Kyle Rittenhouse was present. I get it. Some folks want to protect and defend their properties. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't defending shit. He didn't have any property in the area. He just decided, I'm going to play Superman, defend somebody's property. And the guy testified in court. We never asked him to do any of that. So he just showed up, threw himself in the middle of a conflict. I think he was also posing as a medic with no medical credentials either. I'm going to throw myself in the middle of this and I'm going to carry a firearm. This guy did the same damn thing. Now, keep in mind, it is not illegal to do that. Just like for the deceased, it is not illegal to carry a firearm in an open, you're carrying a rifle strapped around you in the middle of a damn protest. It is not illegal to do that. It's not illegal to do what Kyle Rittenhouse did. But at the end of the day, you're putting yourself out there, and there is a motivation factor where you're likely to be agitating or putting yourself in a dangerous situation because you know you are prepared to handle it. So it's kind of like deliberately agitating or instigating a conflict. Now, in this case, this Daniel Perry, the Black Lives Matter protests were, walking down the street, blocking some areas and things like that. He deliberately began honking his horn continuously. It drew the attention of the protesters, and they came, and that's when they started surrounding his car. Now, once again, you have a right to defend yourself if you believe you are facing grievous bodily harm. Perhaps he felt that way, but there's no denying that he instigated the contact with these folks. He was not in the gathering. He was not in the protest at all. He deliberately honked his horn, and it led to them coming to him. And one of the guys coming to him was the late Garrett Foster with an AK-47 strapped around him. He did not aim the AK-47 at Daniel Perry. I have to look down and remember their damn names. He didn't aim it at him because Daniel Perry testified that he thought the guy might aim the weapon at him. So he got the draw and the jump on what he thought could be a deadly encounter, and he shot the guy. Now, the judge, I believe, sentenced Perry to 25 years in prison. Now, the video you just watched is a whole fucking year old. So Perry was just pardoned by Governor of Texas Greg Abbott yesterday. So the guy has spent a year in jail. But you see in the video, Texas Governor Greg Abbott was trying to pardon this dude right away. The moment he was found guilty in court, the governor was already like, I got your back. The only reason why it took so long is because it had to go through the Texas Board of Pardons. The governor can't do it on his own. It has to go through the Texas Board of Pardons for review. They reviewed it and gave the governor permission to do it. Now, keep in mind, because a lot of folks will say, well, shit, maybe he did deserve to be pardoned if it was reviewed by an independent board, the Texas Governor of Pardons, and then they allowed him to do it. Well, guess who appoints the members of the Texas Board of Pardons? The governor does. So these are people that were appointed by him that decided, the guy that gave us our job, he is kind of right. So understand that. Understand how all of this works together. Now, like I said, I'm not here to really bash one side or the other or take an opinion. I don't think there's really any good guys in this. I really don't. I don't think that Foster deserved to be murdered. And I do believe it, based on his testimony, that he thought the guy may aim a gun at him. It is murder. Technically, it is murder. You can't shoot someone that is not aiming a gun at you if they're legally allowed to open carry the firearm. And that's what happened in this case. Now, I don't believe that, when I say there's no innocent people in this, I don't believe that Foster is innocent in this as well. In my opinion, bringing an AK-47 to a protest when people are bitching about something they're very angry about. Look, you're taking a risk. You see what happens at these protests. There are going to be people in favor of it, people against it. It's anti-police because you believe the police are harming innocent people. It's just not the right environment to walk down the street with an AK-47 strapped on you. You're leaving yourself open for all kinds of shit to happen. And certainly in this case, where a guy is honking his horn constantly, he's not pro the protest. He's not in favor of the damn protest. He's honking his horn like that. People are surrounding his car, and you're going to come walking up with an AK-47? What's the goal? To maybe intimidate them or something like that? It would be intimidating to most people if you walked up to their car with an AK-47 slung around your neck. Well, like I said, it is legal. Unfortunately, it is legal in a host of states in this country to do that. It's not legal to do what Daniel Perry did. And when you tack on the fact that he's made these statements about wanting to go to Dallas and murder looters, wanting to hunt Muslims, I don't see why you would pardon a guy that speaks in that manner. And by the way, not only did he pardon Perry, he also wrote in that pardon he has his gun rights restored. So Perry can now carry a firearm. This is what I'm curious about. This is what I'm looking forward to seeing, because we saw what happened in Kyle Rittenhouse's case. The right, when I'm talking about right, Republicans, conservatives, particularly MAGA, immediately drowned him with love. He now, he's on a speaking circuit. He's making good money because of the lives he took in Kenosha. Talking about Kyle Rittenhouse. And I do believe Kyle Rittenhouse's case is a justifiable shooting. I just think he deliberately put himself in that situation. This is worse. This one is even worse, because this guy honked the horn, and there's testimony coming out that makes it clear he had aspirations of killing these type of people. This one is even worse. So, yeah, Governor Abbott stepping up and pardoning him. Like I said, I want to find out, because we often hear, the left are the ones that are racist towards minorities, the vote for me, you ain't black, the 94 crime bill. Let's see if anybody shows this guy love, considering the fact that he's talked about hunting Muslims. Let's take this case completely out of it. He clearly don't like Muslims either. And there's no defense for that. He's clearly a guy operating from a position of hatred. So I want to see where this guy goes now that he's going to become a free man with his gun rights. Let's see if he's on a speaking circuit. Let's see if he's in politics. You know, maybe somebody brings him at a rally or a gathering, brings him up on stage. Let's see where he appears at. Because wherever he goes, one thing can be certain. The crowd that is endorsing him, showing him love and support, have no issue with somebody who has stated that they would love to be paid to hunt Muslims. So wherever he's at, look at the crowd, and that should give you a lot to judge that crowd and this individual. And anyway, I'd like to hear from you folks. Maybe I'm getting something wrong on this. You know, I always invite dissenting opinion. I don't mind being criticized. So you know how the comment section go. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone as long as you keep it on topic. Just, you know, just throwing out crazy shit. Yeah, occasionally we have to do what we got to do, but we don't really operate from a standpoint of censoring anybody because I believe strongly in free speech. To sum this up, this is fuck around and find out personified. It really is. This guy, when he was honking the horn, looking forward to these people coming to his car, he was literally in fuck around and find out mode. Come over here and start, you know, it would be like, okay, take someone like me. Obviously, I have no love for, let's say, the KKK. So I go and strap up, you know, make sure I'm heavily armed, got enough rounds to handle a crowd. And then I go to a protected First Amendment speaking engagement that maybe the KKK is hosting somewhere. They have requested a permit. They've been granted a permit by the local city or government or whatever you want. So they have a legal right to be there. They're going to be saying hateful things, but they have a legal First Amendment protected right to do that. I show up and deliberately either starts taunting them. Maybe I got a big ass Black Lives Matter shirt. Whatever I'm doing is designed to piss them off because I know I'm heavily armed. And the minute one of them comes over and says something out of the way, maybe spits on me or something like that, I take his life. Because that's what I actually wanted to do to begin with. That is Daniel Perry in this case. You look into my history and I don't put all over social media how I'm interested in taking out KKK members. That's exactly what Daniel Perry is in this case. You can have a legitimate self-defense claim from somebody who has a heart filled with hatred. I don't think Daniel Perry's case, though, unlike Kyle Rittenhouse, I don't think Daniel Perry's case is even self-defense. I think that Governor Greg Abbott kind of revealed a lot about himself rushing to pardon this dude. But like I said, let me know in the comments. It's your boy Tim. About to go a little bit of hunting, fishing, e-biking myself. So see you in the next video.